Hello, everyone. My name is Julie McVey, and this is Unordinary Made Ordinary, where we talk about extraordinary experiences of everyday people. And today, our guest is Damian Gray. Welcome, Damian.
Hi, Julie. How are you?
I'm great. I'm great. Thank you for being here.
Sure.
Would you please just start us off with a little bit of background on who you are?
Yeah. Well, it's a long story. Um, um, well, my name is Damian Gray, and I am a alien abductee. Um, I went to school at Tulane University in New Orleans, uh, but that was way back when, and I have a bachelor's degree in psychology. And I left that practice after about a year because I felt that the states treated people like ticket numbers rather than people. And so I just went, this isn't for me after all this time,
Mm,
after going to school for 4 years
yeah.
for it. Um, and so, moved around quite a lot in my life. Um, I've lived in Southern California. I've lived in Portland, Oregon, Tacoma, Washington, Minneapolis, Bloomington, actually, um, and
Mm,
lived in Florida. And currently, my wife and I live in Las Vegas. And she is a first grade uh, elementary school teacher.
okay, cool. So when did you get interested in the I mean, hear you're an abductee. Was that your first experience with these paranormal activities?
No, my co-host for Black Lotus Productions and I always say that we are paranormal magnets. We've had experiences with spirits and UFOs, aliens in my case. Um, and that has happened to us our entire lives.
Hmm.
Now, as far as the abduction, um, I, I'm not sure if that was the one and only.
Okay.
I was talking to a hypnotherapist who deals with abductees. And I told her, I said, that's the only one that I remember. And
Mm,
she says, well, let me tell you something. Generally speaking, people who are abducted their entire lives and they just don't realize it,
mm,
and they're abducted from a very young age.
mm.
And when she was telling me this, I had like a flash memory that of something that occurred when I was about 10 years old with my mother.
Okay.
So yeah, so I don't know. I don't know if
Yeah.
that was the one and only abduction or not.
Right. Well, um, did you want to share your first memory? So now you have a memory from when you were 10. Did you want to
Sure.
describe that a little bit?
Yeah, the memory was just a quick flash memory, and it was
Okay.
of me and my mother walking past a cow pasture of all things, which I don't know why we would have been walking past a cow pasture. My mother was a staunch businesswoman, and she wouldn't be caught dead in a cow pasture.
Mm,
Um, and in any case, over the cow pasture, there was a hovering silver disc in the sky. And I remember asking my Mom, what is that? And she says, never mind, let's go. And she grabbed my hand and off we walked,
hmm.
but that's all I remember. Um,
Okay.
so
And did you mention this to your mom when you had this memory? Did you mention it and
no,
say, hey, what
because
was that?
my mom has passed. And so, yeah, so I couldn't
So you
ask her.
didn't get a chance. And she never mentioned anything to you about any.
No, and for all the paranormal experiences I've have happened in my life, she didn't believe in the paranormal at all,
Okay,
you know.
she knew about some of your experiences
Oh yeah,
then?
because they happened at the house, when I was a kid. And
Okay.
so yeah, we had a spirit of a man that was there. And I never saw the thing, but a girlfriend of mine saw it, and my co-host Ralph saw it, and they didn't even know each other, and they described the same man. There was
And this was you were how old at this time?
uh, that was when I was about 17, I think. Yeah.
Okay.
But there were other things that happened at that house, like knocking and stuff like that. And
Hmm. Just during the day?
generally at night.
Mm.
And, you know, when it first started happening, I thought, well, it's just the house settling.
Hmm. Sure.
But no, it was loud. It was like I would be in bed and it would happen right on the wall next to my head, and like bam, 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 you know.
Did your folks ever wake up from it
No,
and
but
say, stop that
I would
noise?
tell them about it, and they're like, we didn't hear anything.
Okay.
I'm like, all right, I'm just hearing things, I guess.
And no
You know?
siblings?
No,
Ah,
only child.
hmm.
So
So were you able to sleep okay? I mean, that would kind of freak me out. How often did that happen?
pretty often, and it got just got to the point where I just
Wow.
got used to it, you know. So
Did you just try and believe that, oh, it's just a house? Or did you have a feeling like, oh,
no, I knew it was something else.
you
I
knew
knew.
it?
Yeah.
And this was after you had your two friends had seen this man.
No,
And
this is prior to that.
okay.
Yeah.
So did you want to, you don't have to, but did you want to describe, what do you mean that they saw a man? Like just a human? Did he look like a human being just
Yeah.
hanging around your house? But
Yeah.
you couldn't see it.
No, I never saw the thing. And it's not as though I ever saw anything move around on its own or anything like that.
Okay.
But so the first time it was seen by my girlfriend at the time. And um, I think I was 16 at the time.
Okay.
And so we were walking down the hallway that was adjacent to the living room. And in that hallway was the back door exit. And I turned to go out the back door. She continued walking into the living room.
Okay.
And she jumped back against the wall and says, "Oh my God." And I'm like, "What's the matter?" And she was pointing to a chair. Now, this is back in the 80s. We had one of those golden throne velvet chairs, god awful, ugly thing, you know. And I'm like, "What?" And she says, "Don't you see that?" And
Really?
I
So at the
said,
same time, she's seeing it, you're not.
"Right."
Hmm.
And I said, "I don't see anything." She said, there's a guy there, and he's slumped over and blood is pouring out of his temple." And I said, "I don't see anything." I
Okay.
said, I asked her, I said, "How is he dressed?" She says, he's got slick back black hair and he's in a tuxedo.
Mm.
And I said,
Hmm.
"Well, I don't see anything."
And you guys aren't drinking and using
No.
drugs.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's got to be a
And
very weird. Was she someone that would often see spirits?
no, not really. No, I mean, she thinks she had something in her house too, but
Mm.
yeah, but it was nothing spectacular or anything.
Okay.
And she never saw it. But
Oh,
anyway,
okay.
flash forward to about a year later, and
Uh-huh.
Ralph and I are doing the same exact thing. We're going down this hallway, and I turn to go out the door, and he continues to walk on. And he did the same thing. He jumped back against the wall and he says, "Oh my God."
Deja vu. It
And I
happens again.
went, "Oh no." You know, I
Wow.
said, "What's the matter?" He said, "There's a guy in your living room and he's pointing at the same chair." And
Get rid of that chair.
yeah, yeah. So um, I said, well, I got to tell you, I'm really uncomfortable talking about this here. I said, let's get out of here and we'll talk about it. Um, so we did. And so I asked him, I said, okay, I'm feel a little more comfortable now. Tell me what you saw. And he described the same exact guy and with blood coming out of his temple and everything. Only this time he wasn't slumped over. He was sitting upright with his legs crossed and just staring at him and smiling.
And he did have blood or no blood?
Yeah, blood.
He did have
Yeah.
blood.
Yeah. So
That's weird. Okay.
yeah, I don't know.
Now Ralph, your friend, was he someone who could see spirits, or was this like
Right.
the first time?
He's the guy who's my co-host, and he's the guy I often refer to us as paranormal magnets.
So you both are having these kinds of experiences. He is at his house as well.
Yeah, oh yeah, yeah.
Paranormal stuff.
That house, his mother's house, was just haunted.
Oh, okay.
Lots of weird things happening there. So
what about his folks? Were they like, oh yeah, we believe that this stuff is happening, or were they also like in denial, like no?
yeah, they never really brought it up,
Okay.
So.
Your parents, now, was it because they were religious mindset? Is that why they would not really?
They weren't really religious. No.
Okay.
They just didn't believe,
Okay. Did you have any belief system about the afterlife? Did you just assume, oh yeah, we die and we go on to some spirit realm?
Yeah, well, I was raised Catholic, but like I said, we weren't really devout, I always refer to us as holiday Catholics,
Okay.
we would go to holiday masses and stuff like that. But I did get interested actually in the priesthood at one time. And that was kind of short-lived.
Okay.
But yeah, so I did have a belief that, we went on after death and possibly to heaven or hell. And but I'm not religious today.
Okay. But not this particular guy in the chair. He didn't go to heaven or hell. It seems he's still stuck in your house. Or was it his house? Did you discover anything about this character?
Where this house was built was in Altaloma, California. And and prior to it being there, it was nothing but orange groves out there. And and so
yeah. Right.
So I don't know what could have possibly happened. I have no idea.
Did you guys eventually move out of that house?
Oh yeah.
Okay, so you left him behind. You don't know if he's still there. That's very interesting. So you have this paranormal activity, you and your friend Ralph, growing up. Now you have this flash. It's 10 years. When did you have that flashback? Was that not many years ago? Or
no, it was only about maybe 6 months ago. We were interviewing her on our show.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so that's really recent.
Yeah.
Well, so maybe if you could move into your abduction experience, when was that? How long ago was that?
Well, the actual abduction happened in 1988.
Okay.
But I didn't remember it until 1995.
Okay.
And the reason I remembered it is because my girlfriend at the time and I were living together, and we had a mutual friend over at the house, and he believed in alien visitation, and I did not.
Okay.
I didn't believe in this stuff, I believed in ghosts, but I didn't believe, I believe that there was life out there in the universe because, space is a big place.
Yeah.
But I didn't think that they had really any interest in us, and, I had heard of, things like Roswell and stuff like that. But anyway, so he was over at the house and he was a staunch believer in this kind of stuff. And he had with him, he had like a companion book to that old TV series, The X-Files. So he's talking to me about all this stuff, and I'm kind of just thumbing through the book, and In the book, at one point, there's a still from the TV series, and it's a Fox Mulder, and he's pointing up at the sky. And what he's pointing at is a black triangle
Hmm.
with lights at each point. And immediately I blacked out. It triggered a memory. And I was out for probably, from what I gather from them,
Hmm.
about 5 minutes. And when I came to, I told him, I said, that's it, but it's not it. It's a lot larger than that. Because the thing that he was pointing at was approximately the size of maybe a school bus. And
Okay.
what I saw was huge. It was about the size of a football field and about
Mm.
maybe a 1 story high.
Okay.
And anyway, so
Were they concerned about did they call 911? Did they try and give you?
no, but they were trying to like, when I came to, they were fanning me and,
Hmm.
trying, shaking me. And so,
Again,
yeah,
no drugs and
no.
no alcohol. Okay.
Um, so this is what I remembered. In May of 1988, I was homeless and I was living out of my car. I had a Hyundai GLS. And then at nighttime, I would go to various rest stops
Hmm.
along the I-10 freeway in Southern California.
Hmm.
And I would go there because it was less likely that a cop would harass me or anything like that.
Mm.
So one night I'm heading toward one of those on the I-10 freeway, and I was in Ontario, and uh, it wasn't uncommon back then. I don't know if it's like that, like this now, but they would shut down the freeway at certain points in order to do road work at nighttime. Well, so there was this big electronic board, and it had a readout on it, and it said uh, uh, freeway closed, uh, detour
Hmm.
Haven Avenue.
Okay.
So that's what I did. I got off on Haven Avenue, and I knew if I wanted to get to this rest stop, I would have to go uh, up Haven Avenue, cross over on Highland Boulevard, and then kind of just do this loop. And it would take me about 3 miles out of my way. So that's what I did. And I was up on Highland Boulevard. I don't even know if Highland exists anymore because Alta Loma has built up so much. But in any case, back then it was all grape fields because wineries were a big deal in that area. So I'm on Highland Boulevard and it is pitch black out there. Nothing but the stars, no lights. And as I'm traveling along, I see this light out in the distance. Um, and I had been up there before, but I don't remember a light being there, you
Mm.
know. And so I'm just kind of looking at it. And as I'm driving along, it's getting larger.
Hmm.
So I thought, well, maybe it's a helicopter just hovering there. But it no blinking lights. So I
No
didn't know what it
sound.
was. No sound. But I mean, it was still off in the distance at this point.
Mhm. Okay.
And then as I'm going along, this other light came up to my driver's side door, and it was about 6 feet away, and it was about the size of maybe a basketball. And it had this inner glowing white light to it, and it was pulsating.
Hmm.
And it's just pacing with me.
Okay.
And so now I'm looking at the light in the distance, and I've got this other thing over here.
Uh-huh.
And I'm really surprised I wasn't in an accident because I was just kind of getting a little freaked out at that point. And then, so as I'm going along, like I said, the other light is getting bigger and bigger.
Okay.
And suddenly the light to my driver's side door sped off and joined with that other light. And it traveled at a high velocity. And so now I'm just going, what the hell is going on? Um, so as I'm going, I'm starting to see definition to this light. And I was thinking to myself, I don't see any structure under it.
Yeah.
What's
Okay.
holding this thing up?
Right.
And so, um, so I'm going along and it's getting larger. And like I said, I could see some definition to it. And I'm starting to see that it is a black triangle. And it like I was saying earlier, the one that Fox Mulder was looking at had 3 lights, one at each tip. And this one did too. And I'm seeing something else at this point, but I can't quite make it out, that's on the undercarriage of this craft. And then as I'm about a quarter of a mile away from the thing, my car stalled out. And I didn't even really notice that it had stalled because I'm fascinated with this thing. But, then I'm slowing down and slowing down. And by the time I stopped, the thing was over a grape field. And by the time I stopped, I was about midway under it. And it was, like I said, it was off to my right over a grape field.
Okay.
So as I said, it was a May evening. It was a warm May evening. And so I had my sunroof open. And I got up in my seat and it was kind of like kneeling in my seat and kind of squirmed up through the sunroof so I could get a better look at this thing. And as I mentioned that there was something else under the craft, and what it was it had a bunch of like squiggly lights that were snaking under the thing, and they were multicolored. So anyway, so I'm up through my sunroof and staring at this thing in just awe. And suddenly I felt a hand on my shoulder. And I immediately, jumped and turned around. And there was a guy there who was dressed kind of like the way we imagine the Men in Black. He wasn't wearing a fedora or dark sunglasses. He didn't have a flashy thing. But he says, "Sir, I'm going to need you to sit down."
Okay.
And so I'm just like, okay. I mean, he looked like some guy who was an authority. Shirt and tie.
And you're a kid at this time.
I was
kind of young.
20. Well, I was 21 at the time. And so I did. I turned around and sat down, and he motioned for me to roll down my window. And so I did. And he says, "What are you doing here?" And so I tried to explain my situation, that I was homeless and I was just trying to get to a rest stop to get some sleep. And the freeway was shut down. And I told him, I said, I don't know what's going on here, but I don't want any part of it. And I'm not going to say anything. So can I just go on my merry little way?
Yeah.
And he's like, "Well, no, it's too late for that."
Jeez.
I thought, oh God, this is the last thing I need right now. I don't know what that thing is. I don't know who this guy is. I remember he had an armband on his left arm, and it had an insignia on it. The armband was white, and there was like a red circle, and inside that circle was an insignia of some sort. And the only way I can describe it is a cross between a nuclear hazard symbol and scythes, like harvesting scythes. yeah, it's really hard to
Mm.
describe it. But anyway, so he says, I'm going to need you to step out of the car. Oh, God, here we go. So I did. And when I got out and shut the door, that's the first time that I saw this alien being. And it was the typical gray
Okay.
with the big bulbous head and the big black eyes. And about 3.5 feet tall.
Okay.
And it stepped out from behind him. And like I said, I never really believed in UFOs and all of that kind of stuff and alien visitation.
Hmm.
But suddenly I did. And so it was, people have asked me if I was afraid.
Hmm.
And I wasn't afraid. I was just awestruck.
Mm.
And,
Hmm.
and so anyway, the alien looked at the man, and the man looked back at him. And the guy says, they want to take you aboard. And I'm like, aboard that? I'm not getting on that. And so that's when the alien came up to me and touched my hand. And suddenly I was completely compliant.
Hmm.
And
Okay.
the last thing I remember at that point was walking through the grape field hand in hand with this thing.
Mm.
And then the next thing I remembered was being on an operating table. How we got aboard, I have no clue.
Still no fear?
Still no fear, not really.
Okay.
Um, I was on this operating table and I couldn't move. I wasn't strapped down, but I couldn't move. I couldn't move my eyes.
Okay.
And so I could see
So
through
like
my,
you're paralyzed.
yeah,
Not like you're
yeah,
completely paralyzed.
yeah.
You're not strapped down
No,
at all.
no.
Okay.
But anyway, I could look to my right and left, and I could look down toward my feet.
Okay.
And toward my right, there was a gentleman there who was on his own operating table. And I remember he was quite portly, but he was screaming bloody murder. And there were a bunch of these aliens gathered around his table.
Mm.
And I couldn't see what they were doing.
Same little gray,
Mhm.
like 3-foot gray kind of.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And none of them were around me. But they're around this guy, and I couldn't see what they were doing, but apparently it was very traumatic for him, painful.
You couldn't hear anything
Oh, I could
other
hear him
than, well,
screaming.
the screaming, but nothing
Yeah.
else.
No, not at that point.
Okay. Hmm.
And then to my left, there was a little girl there who was about, I assumed, around 11 years old, and she was on her own operating table, and she
Okay.
wasn't surrounded. So, and then I could look, like I said, I could look down toward my feet, and in the room, which was a very large room, and it was dark gray, and there was a catwalk down toward my feet.
Okay.
And there was a taller gray alien there,
Mhm.
very slender.
How tall would you say? Out of curiosity.
I would say probably about 7, 8 feet,
Oh, okay. Tall.
and very spindly. And
Okay.
as I was watching it, it seemed as though it was in command of the
Mm.
other beings.
Okay.
So since then, I've thought a lot about it. And I think maybe these grays that people report seeing are not, well, I think that they're biological drones, and they're workers for the other aliens. But get sidetracked. So as I'm laying there, they leave the guy that's next to me and they come over to my own table. And one of them walked up to me, and I refer to her as
Female.
she, because she had a definite female energy.
Okay.
But anyway, so she puts her hand on my forehead. And at that point, that was the last thing I remembered. And the next thing I knew she and I were up walking around on board in other rooms. Um, uh, she pointed at this plexiglass. It was like, for lack of a better term, plexiglass uh, board that was in the room, and it had lights in it.
Mm.
And telepathically, she was telling me, this is where we're from. And I didn't recognize the pattern. I mean,
It's like a star system?
yeah, and that's what I thought. It was a star system. But I didn't recognize it as any known constellation or anything like that. So I had no idea. And then she walked me over to another board that was like that. And it was it looked like a family tree.
Mm.
And it had the names of my uncle and my mother. And under that was me. And under that were two more names. And I didn't recognize the names.
Mm-hmm.
And I asked her, I said, who are these people? And she said, they're your children who have yet to be. I thought, okay, I have no intentions of ever becoming a father. And I split up.
How old are you right now when you're having this flashback memory?
Let's see.
So
Well,
it happened when you were 21 and you didn't get the memory until
right. And it was in 1988 and I got the memory in 1995. So what would that have made me?
Were you already a father in 95?
No.
No. Okay. Trying to figure out the numbers. You're too young still by that time.
Yeah.
Okay.
So anyway, so I split up from her and I walked over to the side of the room, and the thing had big bay windows, and I looked out the window and I could see my car down there where we had left it. And then I remember she approached me and we went into another room, and there were these large tube-like canisters filled with green liquid. And in that liquid were other alien beings just floating in these things. And they looked
grays?
Right. They looked partly human. And then she approached me with one of the infants in her arms.
Okay.
And held it out for me to hold it. So I did. And I realized that it wasn't alive. So I remember asking her, what do you want me to do with this? And she just reached out and took it away from me. And then she started asking me questions, and it was really a one-sided conversation. She asked me how I felt about religion. She asked me how I felt about politics, what my views were on society and culture in the world. And I would answer her, but it's not like we were carrying on a conversation. I mean, we weren't talking about it. It was just like she had given me a questionnaire almost. And the next thing I knew, it was daylight, and it was the morning after, maybe. I don't know how long I was gone, and nobody would have been missing me because, like I said, I was homeless.
Right.
But I woke up at the top of Haven Avenue in my car, and I had no memory that this event had happened. I had no memory how I got to the top of Haven Avenue. The last thing I remembered at that time was getting off the freeway.
Right. Okay.
And so, I was very confused. And I immediately realized that I had to go to the bathroom quite badly. And so I drove back down Haven Avenue to the I-10 freeway, and there was a Denny's there on the corner. And so I went in to use the restroom, and my urine was blood red. And I thought, well, that's strange, but I was kind of malnutrition at the time. because I wasn't eating right. And I thought, well, maybe that's just it. And it cleared up. I mean, it was just that one time.
Hmm.
But yeah, there was a very strange, confusing time.
Sure.
Um, and then, so like I said, I remember this memory in 1995. And so,
And then so you come out of it and you tell your friends that you just had this memory.
yeah, yeah.
You did.
And, but so, like I said, I didn't remember what happened to me on the operating table after she touched my forehead.
Right. Before you go on, do you have any theories about what the babies, you said they're baby grays in green liquid or no?
Yeah, the one I held was an infant. These other ones,
They weren't infants, they
they
were
weren't
grown.
infants. Yeah,
But
they
so,
weren't. I don't think that they were full grown, but
did she take the infant out of the green liquid or
I
no?
don't know. She came
Oh,
up
okay.
from behind me and she had it in her arms.
I see. And this
So
one also looked more humanoid than regular grays? Or no, just the
yeah,
ones
yeah,
in,
yeah,
oh, it
yeah,
did too.
yeah, like a hybrid. And I think that that is
Okay.
what they're doing. They're creating a hybridization program here
Okay, so mixing human genetic
with the
DNA
aliens.
with alien. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Huh. All right. I'm sorry. So it's just so much. Okay, please continue.
Okay, so about a year and a half ago, um, my co-host Ralph lives here with my wife and I, and we were watching a movie called The Fourth Kind, and it's a fictional story, but it's based on some reported abductions that were happening that had happened in Alaska. And one of the people was in a regression therapy, and
Mm,
she was describing what she was seeing when she was abducted.
mhm.
And in the movie, there is a drill that's coming toward her eye. And so as a viewer, you're seeing it come right at the screen. And I flipped out and I broke down because I had this memory get triggered of what happened to me on that table.
Mm.
And it was awful, awful. And when she put her hand on my forehead, I felt something go into the side of the back of my neck. And it felt like a needle.
Mm.
And there was also a needle that went into my tear duct.
Oh, okay.
They put
Hmm.
an intubator down my throat and filled my stomach with air. And when they did that, they
Oh,
took this device. Um, I won't call it a needle, but they put this device through my navel and into my stomach. I don't know why. It's not as though they explained why they were doing this,
hmm.
any more than we would describe what we were doing to a lab rat, if we were running tests on a lab rat. So I had no idea why they did it.
Okay.
But now, I mean, it was truly, truly frightening.
Mm.
Now I have PTSD because of
Okay.
it. Yay. So, and I have memories of it in my dreams, and I wake up screaming. And
Oh, you do.
uh, thankfully, my wife is very understanding. We think that she may have been abducted at some
Oh,
point. Um,
okay.
she doesn't have
Wow.
any memories of it, but some of the things that she's described seeing and feeling, it sounds like an abduction case to me. But
Like little
we don't.
bits of memories, little
Yeah,
flashes of
yeah,
memories.
yeah, yeah.
Oh,
So yeah,
interesting. Okay.
but we don't know. We don't know for sure. And so anyway.
Wow. So curious, you said you have two children
Mhm.
and you did end up naming them
Yeah.
what you had seen on the craft
Mhm.
in the in the I can't, did you had the memory though, right? Of seeing the names, and did you consciously, oh yeah, I remember those names, and name them, your kids,
No,
that, or that it was a coincidence kind of a thing, more of a,
no. In fact, my son had been born prior to this memory.
oh,
And
okay, so you
my,
were a
and,
father.
right. And my daughter, uh, rather, my girlfriend was pregnant with my daughter at the time.
Oh, okay, so
So,
you were a father at that, and when you had your, you had already been a father when you had your memory, flashback
right.
memory.
Yeah,
Okay,
right. Sorry if I,
gotcha. That's okay. I was thinking, oh, late 20s, maybe you weren't a father yet or something. I was thinking that's when it was.
yeah.
Okay, boy. Um, and do you have any theories as to d- why they're interested in you? Like, you know,
I can
I know
speculate.
you've been involved in this now for a long time, um, doing more research, and
Right.
I was just wondering if you
I
have.
can speculate, and I think it has something to do with bloodlines. I think it's generational, and I think
Mm,
that's what she was trying to tell me when we were at that family tree thing.
right, because with your mom and the,
Right, and
yeah.
I think they had taken my mom and my uncle. They took me.
Hmm,
I've talked to my daughter about it, but not to my son,
okay,
and she doesn't have any memories of being taken. Um,
okay. You didn't mention this to your son at all? You've
no,
never mentioned this?
no.
He's not going to see this?
I doubt it. Um,
Okay.
yeah,
It's like,
he and I
oh,
are kind of
no.
estranged.
Okay.
So, but I'm
I'm
very
so
close to my daughter,
curious. Okay.
and she knows about all of this. And I asked her, I said, have you ever experienced anything like this? And she says, no. She says she thought she saw a UFO once, but
Mm.
it was off in the distance.
And it's interesting that it's recent you've been getting some of these flashback memories. 6 months ago, and then only a year and a half ago for the other one, I think you said.
Mhm.
So are you thinking you're going to start getting more memories? I mean, and why? Why now, do you
I
think?
hope not. I hope not.
Unless they're pleasant,
Right,
maybe.
right. Because like I said, when I first remembered this in 1995, I believed these things to be benevolent. I mean,
Okay.
I was more fascinated by the whole thing than upset until I had that memory of what happened on the operating table. And that really
Hmm.
freaked me out. And to this
Yeah.
day, I haven't been able to finish that movie.
You don't, do you think that they're using, I mean, I know this is all speculation, but your genetic material, your family line to make
I think,
hybrids? I mean,
yeah, I do. I do. I think that that's the whole purpose of them being here, at least this species, to do a hybrid program.
huh.
But I believe that there are more species than that just here. I think that there are approximately about 36 different species here.
Have you seen any others
Mm-mm.
in your
Not to my
dreams,
knowledge.
or
Not to my
okay.
knowledge. No.
I know you have a podcast.
Well, we have a YouTube channel.
It's a YouTube channel with Ralph. So you've been talking to people about this topic for a while.
Oh, yeah. I think we've had the channel for 3 years,
What is
something
it
like that.
called?
No? Black Lotus Productions. And
Okay.
what we do is we go live every Sunday and Thursday at 5 p.m. Pacific. So I'm going to plug that.
Oh, absolutely.
And what it is, it's a panel discussion with other people who are into the paranormal. And
Okay.
one of them is an experiencer like me. Um, and uh, and then we often have guests on to talk about one thing or another. Another. We talk about all things paranormal. I mean,
Okay.
ghosts, cryptids, aliens,
Wait, what's cryptids?
like Bigfoot would be a
Oh,
cryptid,
okay.
yeah,
Okay.
or Loch Ness monster, that kind of thing.
Gotcha.
So like I said, we often have guests on, and sometimes they're plugging a book that they've written or something like that. Sometimes they're experiencers like myself.
Well,
And
has
so,
Ralph ever been abducted that he has memory of?
not that he knows of. He and I experienced something back when we were kids together, and it was a missing time event.
Mm.
We had
Uh-oh.
gone, yeah, we had gone out to Oceanside, California,
Mhm.
and we were in Claremont, California. And
Okay.
Oceanside from there was about a 2.5 hour drive or so. So we went out to Oceanside and saw his friend there. And I want to say we had dinner. Um, and we left and we were going back to Claremont. And we were on, again, the I-10 freeway. And it's,
Stay off that freeway.
God, paranormal highway.
Sheesh.
Uh,
Okay.
but as we're going along, we're not really talking. We're just listening to the radio, and you know, and it's quite boring drive, you know. And we were probably about a half an hour into the drive back, and suddenly we were back in Claremont.
Oh gosh.
So yeah,
What?
I mean, it was like a light switch, just bam, we were back in Claremont.
Holy moly.
And
Okay.
I remember we looked at each other and we were like, "What time is it?" And the clock was all messed up in his car. And so yeah,
Okay, something
that's
happened here.
often, yeah, that's often a sign that you've been abducted. But neither one
Hmm.
of us can remember anything from it other than the missing
Gosh.
time. So yeah.
Wow.
In fact, that's what we're talking about on our show tonight. We're talking about
Oh,
missing time events,
ooh,
because a lot
okay.
of people have
Well, this isn't going to
experienced it.
come out for another week or so. So the listeners will, will miss that, but I'm going to put your links up in the video description so people can connect with you and subscribe to your channel too, because,
Yeah, absolutely. Thank
I
you.
have a lot of listeners that love this topic.
Yeah.
It's so fascinating. There's so much for me personally to learn. I mean, I'm just barely starting
Mhm.
to learn, and it's very interesting.
It's easy to go down the rabbit hole
I
with this subject.
yeah, yeah, I appreciate you taking time to share this with me, and with the viewers. I
Well, thank you. I
I'm
appreciate it too.
learning. I'm learning. And is there anything else that you want to, before we have to wrap up, I just want to make sure you have the last word if there's anything else that you'd want to
I just want
share.
to say the reason that Ralph and I created Black Lotus is because we've experienced so much. And like in my case with the abduction thing, um, I didn't tell anyone for years about this because, I mean, I worked in management and I couldn't have my employees thinking that I was some sort of UFO nut kind of thing. And I often thought that I had just hallucinated the thing, or that maybe it was just some sort of crazy delusion.
Sure.
But the more I looked into it, the more I realized that what I experienced was the same thing that a whole lot of other people have experienced. And so I thought, I'm not crazy, and I'm retired now, and I don't really give a damn what people think about me anymore. And so the reason we created this is to let people know, other people who have experienced these sort of things, that they're not crazy, and they're certainly not alone. There have been millions of people who have reported abduction. And that's only the tip of the iceberg, because a lot of people won't come forward about it. So we just wanted people to know, we believe you, and you're not nuts,
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you again, Damian, for taking time. I appreciate it. And thank you to everyone watching. So we're going to wrap this up because we are out of time, unfortunately. This has been Julie McVey with Unordinary Made Ordinary. And I hope you will join us next time for another fascinating interview. If you did enjoy this, please give it a thumbs up. And if you like this type of content, of course, subscribe to the channel. And I hope you're having a wonderful day or evening wherever you are on the planet or off the planet. We'll see y'all next time. Bye-bye.